Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Loops Podcast. I'm Kevin Forsyth, and on this podcast, we discuss God's Word, His church, and everyday life. And we always ask the question of how this loops back into our life and God's kingdom. Overall, our goal on this podcast is to share people's stories, and we hope that it inspires you, that it blesses you in some way. So thank you so much for joining us today. We have a fantastic guest for you today. We sit down with Colton Duty, who's the guitar player out in Little Rock, Arkansas at the First Pentecostal Church. Overall, he's a fantastic guy. He shares his story of how he got started in music. He shares some stories of the different conferences and live recordings and tours that he's been a part of, and his approach on different things, practice, playing, and some other fantastic stuff. So you're not going to want to miss it. I'm joined today by Trent Johnson, who is the drummer here at GBFPC, along with Jake Kaufman, who is the bass player here at GBFPC. It's a fantastic episode. I know you're going to be blessed by it, so stick around to the end. Welcome to Loops. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. We're glad to have you on the show.
It's good to be back. I've been out of the podcast game for about a year.
Oh, we have a question about that. I'm curious on when the convo's coming back. You probably saw it when
let's go.
I sent you that. So yeah, man, I met you a couple years ago, and through those years, I've watched you grow your ministry, your influence, your Instagram. You're going to over 35,000 followers, which is awesome. So congrats on that. And I wanted us to interview because I want to understand your approach on some things, maybe hear some stories of the different recordings you've been a part of, conferences, and just get to know really you as a person. So we'll just jump right into it. When did you first start playing guitar? When did you first get into music?
So I started a couple times. The first time was in fourth grade, so I was like 9 years old. And I don't know what it was that made me want to pick it up for the first time. But my mom bought me a $50 J Junior guitar from a music store. I started, I thought it'd be easier than it would be. I took 4 months of lessons and then quit, really because my guitar teacher made it look like it was way too hard for me. So I gave up that time. And then about 3 years later, my older brother started playing with some of his friends. And whenever I saw him do it, I knew that, he wasn't any better than me, so I could do it. So I started practicing there. And really my whole goal there was to be in his band that they had started. They were all going to his friend's house and they would hang out all weekend. And so I just wanted to get good enough that I could go play in their band.
What was the name of the band?
Truth be told.
I like it.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Thank God social media wasn't around. But that was really my main motivation early on, was just get good enough to go, basically so I could go hang out with them.
So you said you took lessons for 4 months?
Yeah, 4 months.
That was official lessons. I'm sure you've taken some throughout the years now?
No, besides that, when my older brother started playing, he showed me all the chords. And then after that, it was just basically being thrown on the platform and, using YouTube as a resource, whatever else I could in order to learn.
Right. That's kind of similar to me. I jumped right on the platform and learned with these guys throughout the years. Yeah,
I think that's why it's like I don't know if it's an apostolic thing or if that's just like a church thing in general, but it's like, hey, you've been interested in the guitar for a few weeks now. How about you come up here and play?
Right.
Yeah. It's how it seems to happen all the time. Yeah. Kind of get thrown into the fire.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think you learn quicker that way.
It can be, for sure.
So when it comes to when you first started, who were your influences when you first started?
When I first started, it was, I didn't know anybody really. It was just whatever songs my dad was playing, in the background. So there was a lot of whatever he was listening to, which was a lot of like blues stuff, and 70s and 80s music. So that's what I try to play along with. And then whenever I wanted to start playing in church, I would just turn on like the Sirius XM gospel station and just sit in the kitchen and try to figure out what to play over that stuff. And that's really what I did.
Nice.
Early on. And then obviously as the internet evolved and I talked to more musicians and they told me about people, it moved over to me listening to like, what was like the jazz station on watercolors or something. Yeah. So I would just, go between those two channels, playing along with watercolors and then playing along with gospel and then back and forth. And then, their names would pop up on watercolors and I'd figure out that I liked like Wayman Tisdale, or I figured out, Marcus Miller. And then I would jump over to YouTube and listen to their stuff. And then slowly that let me figure out about guys like Jonathan Dubose, Rick Watford. And there was not much on the internet there, but it was like a, slow process of me being able to figure out these guys' names and how to hear what they played on. And then it just slowly evolved from there. As the internet got more and more, probably 2012, 10 years ago, whenever Instagram allowed 15-second clips, it's like the world just completely opened up. And that's when I started getting a lot of inspiration from the Instagram guitarist or whatever it is, just hearing different ways to play things, and kind of opened up my mind there.
So the influences that you would find or hear or listen to, would you listen to their stuff and try to pick out what they're doing and just like transcribe those kind of things? How did you learn what they were doing?
Yeah. There was certain artists that I would try to learn, like note for note. And then the majority of the stuff I would play with, there wasn't much guitar in it. Like for instance, a lot of that watercolor stuff, unless it's like a Joe Pass or whatever these guys, Joe Sample, whatever their names are, these jazz guitarists. If it was like the Marcus Miller and Wayman Tisdale stuff, there wasn't a lot of guitar. And I was just, pretending I was the guitar player for them type stuff. And then the other stuff I'd listen to, I'd like transcribe the simpler things. And then, as I'm sure you were too, it's like figure out the pentatonic scale and just go nuts over everything. And that's how it was.
Goes over everything.
Most part. Yeah.
It really does. Well, can you walk us through your approach on that? So if you were to listen to a song, because I've done that before, and I wasn't doing it right or didn't know what I was doing. I guess that's the whole point of it, through trial and error, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through your approach of when you would listen to something like that? Try to play, be their guitar player,
guitar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's evolved for me a lot since then to now. But like, even if I get a demo of a song that doesn't have any type of guitar in it, the first thing I want to do is, determine what style the song is first off. And then I'll try to figure out, if it's just me playing on a song, I'll try to figure out what part can I do that adds the most to the song, not necessarily what part can I do that's, focuses more on the guitar, but it's like, what other songs have I heard that sound like this? And then what did the guitar do in those songs? And then just try to recreate that. So, whether that's just playing the chords, doubling the bass line, following the lines or whatever, it's all about what song have I heard that sounds a lot like this? And what did the guitarist do in that song that obviously worked that I could do here? Because, there's, it's not like every time you hear a song, you're trying to reinvent the wheel. It's like, what other song had good success, and then what did that guy do, and I'm just going to do that,
Yeah.
type of thing.
I like that.
Reference tracks.
I feel like for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of others, you feel like you have to reinvent the wheel or try to be something different than someone else, but don't try.
Yeah, and you really don't. Your sound is going to come out like I can't play like you. I can't sound just like you. I can play the same chords as you. I can play the same lines as you, but it's going to be me coming through that. And that's the same way. It's like, even if I take a part that somebody else played and I play the same thing, or what I think is the same thing, it's still going to come across different. And people aren't going to say, hey, that's identical to this. It's like, your own expression comes through that.
Well, that's
it's a reference.
That's the difference between not just focusing on listening to like one person and like, I'm going to just mimic everything he does. It's like taking a bunch of different people. And then that's what your sound becomes, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because The reason you don't want to sound like anybody else is because if you're trying to make a profession out of it, and somebody wants you on their song, they're just going to call the original. They're not going to call
Right.
you the knockoff. And then the only way that you are able to, get any opportunities is if the other person isn't available.
Yeah.
So it's like unless you have your own sound, you're not creating any really true value as far as doing this, as a profession in some sort of way.
It's kind of becoming like that for you a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's like right now I feel like I got like the reins, like trying to hold it back. Like I don't want to do music full time. I just want to work my job, and then stuff opens up. Like next week, I'm going all week for Brian Pound's live recording, and then 2 weeks ago I was at Peak all week long, and then it's like it's there if you want it. It's like you can easily fill up a schedule.
I have so many questions on that part. I'm going to save it for the next section because we can go down that for a while. But obviously you put in the work. You're giving your all in this ministry. It's shown. I mean, like I said, your Instagram has grown to over 35,000, which is awesome. When did you decide this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to give my all in this.
Yeah, I think I really think it was from the start whenever I got asked to start playing. I mean, y'all know me. Like I seem to be pretty excessive about whatever I get into. Like right now, it's like pickleball, and I've been playing way too much. It's like whatever I think I like, I'll just go nuts. That's why I don't have an Xbox or anything, because like if I had an Xbox, like I probably wouldn't leave the house. Like it's that type of thing. So whenever I figured out I had this opportunity and could be involved, it was like I want to do this, and I want to be as good as I can be, and I want to be as dedicated and as I can be. I don't want to be the guy that you can't depend on. If I'm on schedule and I just don't show up, like I don't want to be that guy. And I think it was just from that point on, like, hey, this is a great opportunity, especially for a 14-year-old kid at the time. And I was like, I want to make the most of it.
Right.
And then it's just been, it's not like I ever said, I still want to be doing this in 15 years, because that's how long I've been playing on, for the church. But it's like, there's so much going on that you look up and then it's been 15 years. It's like, I need to learn my songs for midweek, and then you learn those, and you need to learn your songs for Tuesday or for Sunday. And then you do that. And then it fast forwards and it's 15 years and you're still doing the same thing. So that's kind of what it feels like.
Nice. When did you start your Instagram? When did you start doing that?
Yeah, my music Instagram.
Yeah.
That was probably, I don't know, I need to look, maybe 6 years ago or so, 5 or 6 years. But I started it because I felt like my friends on Instagram were sick of, or didn't want to see guitar videos. And so I created a separate page where, if 10 or 15 of them wanted to see the guitar videos, they could go over there and not be, my Instagram was saved for just like, me and my girlfriend Haley at the time. Yeah. Or she's my wife now, but that was what my Instagram was for. And I didn't want anybody to, see a guitar video here and there. So I started a separate page where that could happen. But a funny story was about 6 or 8 months after me having my Instagram, and I was grinding it out. I was throwing up all the content I could think of. Well, one night I'd made a video playing over this Ty Tribbett song, and Ty Tribbett reposted it. And so a couple days later, I picked up 15 or 20 followers. Well, a couple of days later, my pastor, well, let me stop here. A couple of days later, my Instagram starts blowing up, going nuts. I'm talking about, I'm sitting on the couch and it's just follow. It's just nonstop. And so I pick up my phone. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I guess the effects of Ty Tribbett sharing my post is officially hit. Like, I'm blowing up right now. Well, come to find out, my pastor had figured out you could buy fake followers from like Russia, and he had bought me 5,000 followers just to prank me. And so, they all washed, they're all like bot accounts, and they got washed off after they probably hung around for 10 or 11 months. And you know how you can see the cities where your followers are from. For I guess 10 or 11 months, it was like 98% of my followers were from Moscow. And so like that, they all went away, but for a second there, I was like, dude, I've I've hit fame here.
So that's the stories. Colton's got bot followers. Still.
Exactly.
All
Exactly.
35,000.
Yeah, I'll share the analytics now. It's Moscow's probably like 2%.
Okay.
So when you found out and that all dropped off, how much did it drop? You said over like 6 months. Was it all at once or just kind of slowly all faded?
No, they slowly faded. And what helped me out a lot was as they dropped off, it like, my normal followers went up. So it was, you never really noticed like, I never really went from.
You've been reposted by quite a few people. And
yeah,
I'm sure
I
that's
think,
attributed
honestly,
to a lot of that, right?
Yeah, for sure. There was one video in particular that I got the majority of the followers from is when I was playing acoustic and the kid was dancing. That one got me a lot of followers. And then I can't remember. I feel like there was one not too long ago. I can't remember what video it was, but it seems like, every 10 or so videos, like one will do good and then you just get a big spike in followers.
Do you feel pressure to put out content?
No, not really. Unless it's like a lazy Saturday and I don't have anything to do. I never really I need to, I feel like I need to do something. I'm not on like a schedule or anything. Really what I'll do is like, if we're doing something that is, I keep the iRig and I keep like a phone holder on my monitor stand right there. And if we're ever doing something like altar call gets fun or rehearsal gets fun or whatever, if we play something that I want to remember, then I'll record it. And then, I figured out like nobody wants to watch like a minute long video on Instagram. So you really just got to trim it down. I try to stay between 15 and 30 seconds on the videos and then just, take my favorite part or whatever part, felt the best or whatever. And then I'll just put that up. So
Nice.
I don't really have like a schedule or anything.
So I have the same setup. So how much space do you have on your phone? Because I'm always fighting. I got to go through and just listen and delete stuff because it gets out of hand fast. On there.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got quite a bit, I guess. And then, I back up a lot of stuff to the cloud. But man, I have like, let me see how many videos I have on here right now. I have 6,000 videos on my phone, 21,000 pictures. So I still have a lot of storage left. I checked it the other day, but I don't know. It's probably about time for a new one.
Let's get hard drives and just store them.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like a pack rat, but like if you could see the rest of this room right now, but it's just like all guitar pedals, travel cases, all sorts of junk. But like I never want to delete anything. I never know when I want to go back and see it. But I'm too lazy to ever go like organize it.
All right, so go to a different note. What's your approach when it comes to practicing? Now, this is I want to take it from two different ways here. Something that you want to learn a new technique, and then also what's your approach for practicing songs for each week and for each Tuesday, for each Sunday? How do you approach that?
Well, like today I've been learning the 13 songs for next week. But really, I just sit down with all the demos. I chart them out, especially like the CCM stuff. I chart it out, and then I write out the lines. And then I'll just, I'll play the song 3 or 4 times, and then I'll feel comfortable enough where I know it to a point that when I get to church on Sunday, that by the second run through of the song, I feel very comfortable with it. It definitely has gotten a lot easier to learn stuff over the past few years. And so, but early on it was, a lot of work, and it was just like, sit down, pick out the lines first. First thing I do when I listen to a song is what's special in the song. By special, I mean like what jumps out, what's the line that everybody hits, what's the intro line I have to play, what's the turnaround. Once I know what the hard parts are, I'll jump to the hard parts and learn them first, and then just piece together the rest of the song. That's kind of really my process. I don't really listen to stems and solo them out and stuff like that. I'll just listen to the song and pick out the special stuff and then figure out the chord progression. And that's really it. But what I normally do is we have rehearsal at 8:30 on Sundays. What I normally do is I set an alarm and I'll get up at 7 and I'll practice from like 7 to 7:45 and learn all my songs for that Sunday. Then when I get home Sunday afternoon, at some point during the afternoon, I'll learn the songs for Sunday night. And then I never have time to learn the songs on Tuesday because I get off at 5 and we have rehearsal at 5:45, and that's just like send up a prayer and hope I get lucky.
I actually learned that from you. I don't know. I think it was the first time I met you at 238. You had brought this book of all the lines or something written out.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you told me that exact advice. And that's my next question is, what advice would you give a new guitarist or any musician really that's getting into it, and then experienced musicians, but kind of charting that out and practicing those hard parts, but kind of not, what would you say for the other parts? You had mentioned something before, not just the hard parts, but the middle sections between those.
Right, the middle sections between those. That's a really good question because it's something that I feel like I hear a lot better now, but like trying to explain it is pretty tough. One thing I'll say that'll probably help a lot for this, and I was telling somebody the other day because I had listened to a video of me playing 10 years ago, and like I wish I could just travel back in time and slap myself off the platform because it was the most annoying thing because I would never stop playing, but I know what it was is I wanted to be heard. Anyways, I was on the platform playing this song and I would not shut up. Like I was playing runs the entire time. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially guitarists or really any musician probably does, is play too much trying to be heard because they think, I want somebody to think I did a good job. I'm pretty sure they're not hearing everything I'm doing. So if I play as much as I can, there's got to be a section where my guitar line jumps out and they hear it, So it's like throw a bunch out there and hopefully they like one thing when really that does the exact opposite thing of what you want it to do.
Right.
Which, Kurt had told me early on when we was recording something, he was like, put one special thing in here, like jump out one time in the song. And you'll hear that a lot in his songs. Like a lot of the songs that, we release is you never really hear piano and then you'll hear something like going into the bridge. You'll like do something and it jumps out. And so that's what I was actually telling Jace Hare about that. Like, dude, I wish I could have just, slapped myself off that platform and understood early on, like, honestly, less is more. And if you want to be heard, play less and play at the right time, which may be hard to understand when is the right time. But if you can get that early on, you'll save yourself a lot of embarrassment. Like, hey, let's just play this song, whatever that is. And if, I want to take a little spot, I can do it. And it actually has a bigger effect than playing too much.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's something I know Travis even recently posted a video, Travis Dykes, about when you can hear a professional musician. When you go to a show or something, you're listening to music and you're not just, you can actually hear them individually, but at certain spots. And most of the time they leave the spaces empty that need to be. And that's something that we're trying to always learn, but also tell our young musicians coming up. It's like, leave space. It needs some air to, breathe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, space is king. And that's the hardest part about arranging songs about anything is like, because you feel so much pressure to have something in every single spot. But what happens is, think about this, like even with our band, I don't know how many people we have, like 7 maybe. But what if 7 people only take one spot each song? That's still 7 spots. That's still, that's a lot, and so that's what you got to keep in mind is like, you're not the only one up there.
That's good.
Right.
I struggle with it myself.
It's very difficult.
Our music director back then is turned around like kind of like, what are you doing?
Cool it.
Yeah. So I've definitely learned throughout the years, but that's fantastic advice. Going to now the second part, the endorsements. I know you have some endorsements. How did you land those and what are those?
Yeah. So I have 3 and the first one was Merino Customs, the cables. And I want to say it was probably from when I was on tour with James, and the owner is an apostolic, and he had already had a relationship with a couple of the other guys, and so I believe he just reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'd like to bring you on, offer you some cables," and that was the first one. The second one was probably the Juicy Ears. And that was a connection from Merino Customs. I was looking for headphones because I was using the KZs, the AS10s. And I've had custom all Clairs in the past, but I was looking for something else. And, I don't want $1,000 pair of headphones. Like, the likelihood of you losing headphones, stepping on headphones, anything is pretty good chance you're going to do that. And so, I was just looking for some other options, and I reached out to Merino Customs, and he put me in touch with Juicy Ears and started talking with them. And they just sent me the 5s, and they're like, I don't know, $250, $260, 5 drivers. That was just really a connection from Merino. And then the other one is PRS, which, like, I have a PRS sign up here, one over here. Just been a fan ever since I first heard about them, probably 10 or 11 years ago. And that one happened. Me and Brett had been talking about it, like, man, we love PRS. We just need to, it'd be so awesome if we could get endorsed with them. And so I reached out to their one of their reps, Bev, and sent her an Instagram message, and she never replied back to me. So I just sent him an email, and I said, hey, I'm already playing y'all stuff. Here's kind of what my schedule looks like. Here's what I've been doing. Here's a link to my Instagram. Feel free to see me, using those guitars there. And they replied back in like 2 weeks and said, hey, sorry, this was somehow in our junk folder. Looked at your Instagram. You're a great player. We would like to offer you the artist pricing. Please sign this and send it back. And so they gave me a direct rep there. And then so what's really cool is like the Fiore right here, like, it came straight from the PRS factory, like, it never went to Sweetwater first. It never went anywhere else. It's like, so I just get to email them, tell them what I'm looking for, and yeah, they'll send it straight here. It's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Fiore's, I see it in the back. It's super nice.
Dude, I love it, man. I didn't want it to be my favorite, but it is. I'm playing it all the time.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, man, that's pretty awesome. I was just curious, like, what was all involved with
behind it. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was definitely, I know God made it happen. Yeah. But it's super cool. Yeah, I'm stoked too.
Yeah, well, congrats again, man. And you're really putting in the work. I'm telling you, I've really seen you grow in the past couple of years, in just a short amount of time. All right, so going into past projects, conferences, live recordings, tours, kind of walk us through like what you've been a part of in the past.
Yeah, for sure. 238 conference. Besides that, I don't think I played anything.
I doubt that.
So let's see. The very first conference I played was at the Dykes Church whenever I was 14 in Tulsa. And then, our church has great conferences, camp meeting and Mid-America. And what happened was, as you just as you play out, you just get more opportunities. And for me, I think, the first live recording I ever did was I was 16 and our church had an album. They did a Summit Live. It's buried deep in the archives, probably never to be heard. But that was the first one that I played on. And then from then, I started doing a lot of studio work whenever I was around 16 or 17, just different things, different people doing these small CDs, at the time, and I would play and record on those. And then it just, more stuff started opening up. Probably the first bigger thing that I did was whenever I was 18, I played with Dorinda Clark and Kim Burrell. Not that I was the best guitarist in Little Rock at the time. I think I was the only one here. So I got to do that. And then, mainly I just focused on work during that time. It was never playing stuff. I played Peak with Trent 10 years ago. And then, that was kind of the only really thing I would play throughout the years. And then about 3 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we had our church album and all of that. Whenever Kurt came around, it really opened me up to recording a lot more. So I did the church album. And then 3 years ago, I guess, was James Wilson's album. which I had overdubbed on his other album, the first one, Songs for the Church. Like I played Something Happens, and like half of the O Magnify song. So, Andy Ferguson played guitar for him for a long time. Andy's awesome, really good. But Andy was sick, got sick the week of the recording for the Songs for the Nations album. So James called me on Monday morning at 6:30 the week of the recording. It was 6:30 a.m. I was getting ready to go to work, and he called me. He was like, "Hey, man, is there any way you could help me out? I need a guitarist for this week. I'm doing a live recording. Is there any way you could be here like soon?" And I said, "Where is it at?" He said, "It's in Maryville." I was like, "When would I need to be there?" He's like, "Man, probably Wednesday at the latest." And so I was like, "Yeah, let me see." So I checked with my pastor, and I had a flight the next day. That was 12 songs I'd never heard in my life. They sent me a link to the demos. I got there. They were already like 3 songs deep, arranging. And it was like, not going to lie, it was very, very stressful. Because we had to create parts. These were a lot of musicians I'd never played with before. So that week was wild, but it definitely opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Did the tour with him. I did who else's album? David Jennings' album. It's getting ready to come out. It's killing. It's so good. It'll be out soon. Trying to think. Those are really the few things that are jumping out at me right now. I'm sure I missed something very important.
So would you say that's about when you're touring and recording, music scene really blew up and took off?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was with that first album for James that I realized, like, I could get involved in more things like that and really enjoyed it. But it seems like that's whenever I realized, like, hey, I may be onto something here. It may be worth putting a little more time into.
It's cool. From what I took out of that, even like going further back in the conversation, was that you were trying to do all this stuff even before Kurt came around.
Yeah,
right?
For
like
sure.
It wasn't something that Kurt pushed you to do, which kind of may seem that way. You were doing this stuff and maybe people just didn't know about it yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is like he really broadened my platform and introduced me to people that helped me a lot. But I was recording quite a bit of things that not necessarily made it out anywhere. You
Right.
probably never heard any of those things, but there was a lot of things that I was recording, and so for the past really 13 years, I've probably been recording. But that's helped me a lot on how to like stack guitars, and it made me think out. Well, I mean, early on, whenever I started playing like with my brother's band, like we were recording then, and I was like stacking guitar parts at like 14 and 15, and hey, what if we put this guitar part here, and then what if I put this over it? And I remember the first time we did that, we were literally at my friend's house who lived right here, and I was 14, and they had written this song, and I was like, set up a mic, and I was recording acoustic, and I was like, what if I played this over it? And then it was like opened up my mind to like, hey, I can do more than just one thing, at a time. So that's when recording really jumped out at me. Like this feels like more of an art than just playing, on a Sunday, right? So it's like being an artist and being able to have more than one color. It's like I can add some of this here and this here and that.
Yeah.
That's when recording really just got fun for me.
That's awesome.
I feel like recording, I never really did anything with recording until actually I met you. A lot of inspiration has come from what you've been doing. So I kind of been messing around with it, but I feel like it helps you learn a bit more about you as a player when you record yourself and then listen back.
Definitely. But it also lets you know, like, you don't have to do that much, Right. It's like, and that's the best way to learn. I mean, y'all know it. Y'all are all good musicians. Whenever you go back and listen to yourself, like that is some of the best learning that you can do. Like, cause you're just kicking yourself. Like, why did I do that? This actually sounds stupid. I need to do less.
Yeah.
That's whenever you go back and listen to yourself, I feel like the number one thing that I keep getting back from that is like, I don't need to do as much. I need to do less.
Less is more.
Yeah. And that's the best way you can learn. And nothing teaches you that more than recording. And whenever an artist sends you a song, it's it's like this hurdle you have to jump over where is what I want to do, is it cool enough? Are they going to like it? Hopefully they like the way that I take this. And then because you don't want to spend 4 hours recording something and send it back to reference and they're like, no, I don't like that. Or you never hear from them again and they send it to somebody else. And it's kind of a business thing. It's completely different than just showing up and playing at church. Right. It's a whole other side of business to it, really.
What current projects are you working on and some future ones? I know you said you're working on some stuff next week.
Yeah. So Brian Pound's doing a live recording. It's going to be in Atlanta. 13 songs, actually. Helped arrange one of the songs on there for that. A church somewhere in the U.S. is going to be doing a live recording and helped arrange 5 songs for them. We're working on some stuff for the church right now. We just did a single at camp meeting we're working on. We're doing a live recording in Mid-America conference, and so we're putting together 10 songs for that. We already had a write where a bunch of people came into town, and we wrote 12 or 13 songs that week, so we're arranging a lot of that stuff. Besides that, not much. I get stuff, from Instagram. Like I recorded a song Thursday night for a girl in California. I do a lot of stuff for Donnie Bright. I don't know how that dude's getting so much work, but he's doing more songs than
he's everywhere.
So, he's sending me a lot of stuff. I think he's been on the show, but he sent me a lot of stuff, and it's just nice people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that kind of goes into like the next section of producing music. When it comes to arranging, well, first off, I want to start with this first question, but your church has been a major influence. You've been a major influence in the past couple of years. Your church has been producing music for a while. Is that if I'm correct on that?
Yeah, for sure.
When it comes to arranging, when it comes to producing music for your church, has that always been a part of the culture there at your church? Or when did that kind of start?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I feel like, our pastor was big on us, having our own music. And, Kurt says it. I mean, Kurt is obviously a huge advocate for it too, and he does it on such a high level. But he told us the other day, what if your pastor showed up Sunday and preached a message from somebody that wasn't apostolic? What if he got up and he preached a T.D. Jakes message, or he got up and he preached a Stephen Furtick message? That's what we're doing every Sunday when we get up and we sing songs, that were written by people that aren't apostolic. So if we would, why would we treat it any different? Why would we not at least attempt to put out our own stuff,
Right.
And, y'all have seen it in the past 10 years, there's been a huge uptick in apostolic music. I mean, there's full conferences that everything's apostolic, and so, I think, my pastor was big on that early on. And, like I said, we did choir albums with, not really original songs. We didn't really start doing original songs until Kurt got here in our, that first album that we did with the choir. And then since then, it's just been, how much can we put out? And we've definitely got a lot more coming. I will say, like, arranging is my favorite part. I love going in to hear like somebody's idea, like somebody singing to a click track and they don't have any idea what they want the music to do, and then you just get to sit there and figure out what it's going to be.
What's your approach on that? Because I'm curious I've never been a part of something like that. So like, when you walk into that kind of room and meeting, like, what is your approach with that?
So first thing we do, like, sometimes if it's just so for instance, the song that I helped arrange for Brian, I did it probably 4 months ago, but it's going on the record. He sent me like him singing to a click track, and he was like, the BPM is this. And so what I did is I put it into Pro Tools, and he sent me a reference track. I kind of want it to feel like this Israel song right here. I really like the way this feels. And so then what I did is I listened to what, kind of the approach, not the same riffs and lines and progressions in that, but what is the style of this? It's heavy acoustic. It's this. And so what I did to that is try to figure out a chord progression that made sense and worked. If it's somewhat CCM, I try, 3 or 4 chords for the majority of everything. What 3 or 4 chords feel right over this? And then I recorded out like the intro, the chorus, the verse, and everything, and I sent it back. Hey, do you like this? He's like, I don't like the chorus. I feel like it's too much, too drivey, or it's too whatever. And so I said, okay. I went back and deleted everything I had for the chorus and tried something else, and until it felt right. I think arranging and like the way that we do it the majority of the time is whenever a couple of us are together. Like me and Kurt work very, very well together as far as arranging, because he can play everything that I can hear, right? So I'm like, man, I feel like it should be kind of like, and I'll pull up like a reference track or something and kind of sing it out or try to play it on guitar. And he's like, oh, yeah, something like this. And then he just does it. And it's like exactly what it should be, you know? And so that's like, seems to be the way that we do a lot of stuff. On our choir album that we did, I remember there was a couple songs where, like that first song is the one that my pastor sang. What is that song? All Glory and Honor. You know, the big line intro or whatever. That was something. So Kurt's like, here's a song, here's this idea, we need something for it. And so we're like, just got back from lunch and we're just playing like the, you know, we're all playing that, just jamming out, basically, like killing time trying to find something. And then, you know, one of us played that line or whatever, and it just started to feel right. And then it's just, you know, everything is kind of, you know what a chorus should feel like, you know what a verse should feel like, you know what a bridge should feel like, and then you just try to put it all together. But it's total just creativity. That's why it's so fun, is there's no wrong way to do it.
How often do you and the musicians at your church just jam together?
Outside of church, not much, but we get the opportunity to like jam together a whole lot because like our altar calls are so long, you know? So it's like, you know, on a Sunday, we may get an hour or two of just being creative, you know, on the fly. And, you know, I think any band would benefit heavily from that.
Do you use those moments as kind of your creativity, like you said, creative times of like, okay, let's try this, but kind of
we all jump out, like we just jump out there. Like, for instance, like I posted a video the other day and we were playing the bridge of that song, Be What You Call Me to Be. So the bridge is, you know, I'll say yes. So that's a flat 7/4/1. Like, do we want to play that for 30 minutes? You know, no. So what do we, you know, that's when you create lines to it. You know, you can use that same progression, but put lines over it and just start changing the dynamics and stuff. And then that's generally what we try to do. And then, you know, so many times, like even at peak altar calls, like we would be in a shout and then 20 minutes later, we're playing something that is completely different. It's just allowing yourself to be creative. But also I was telling Kurt this the other day, because our bass player's gotten so much better. His ear has gotten better, where it's like, now it feels like we can really go, you know, we can do a lot more because his ear is better. It doesn't really feel like anybody's holding us up, you know? And whenever your band is like that, it's like, you know, let's say Jake plays something and then Kevin hears it and then Kevin jumps on it and doubles the line with him. And then, you know, Trent feeds off that and he starts accenting all those lines. And then, you know what I mean? It's just, that's kind of what it's like. And then you know, Jake all of a sudden inspired Kevin, and then y'all play together, and then Trent starts, you know, getting inspired, and then everybody's creative. And that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've played a song and we've added a line to it, and when we're done, everyone's like, well, who started that one? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't even know. It's like
happened.
Somebody just did it, and then maybe Kevin accidentally played this line or just played this line in normal, and then it, you know, Jake, you're like, you know, the next time you did it, you're like, man, that line jumped out, and then you play it, and Kevin forgot he ever even played it.
Right.
You know, that's generally how it goes. It's like, you know, you just feed off of each other.
Yeah.
It's like arranging on the fly almost, or rearranging.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we did, like, that's generally how stuff will happen for us. And, you know, we'll do a song a couple times. And then, you know, each time we do it, we add what we did last time that we liked, and we add something else. And then by the 4th or 5th time we did a song, it's like completely different than it was originally, you know? And so that's what's super fun.
Yeah. So going into some final thoughts, before we end here, all the advice has been fantastic. And that's some really good advice on arranging and being creative. I mean, we're all busy. We all have busy lives. We can't just take out more time to go and jam, which I would love to. I know all of us would love to, but using that time to be creative and then bring it and put it in other things. You guys have a podcast. You and Kurt have a podcast. It's been a while since the last episode. I know the last thing was a mention about season 4. I don't know if that's confidential of season 4 launch date. If there isn't.
So we were really, it was all about, pastors, bishops, evangelists. Like that's what we really wanted to put out. And our podcast started out as just, us killing Tom during COVID or whatever, but it's feeling more. It began to develop into more like of a church resource, instead of just like a place for musicians. It's kind of like an audio library of, how you can do this or this better, for churches that could benefit from it. And so that led us to like, hey, if this thing is just all consuming to the church, like on all aspects, like we want to have preachers and evangelists and stuff on. Well, we felt like it would only be in order to have like Bishop Holmes on first, right, for the first episode of that. And so I don't know if it was like we were too scared to ask him or what, but it was like we did a couple episodes, and I have them like right here on my computer that aren't released, like 4 or 5 episodes probably that we've done. And we just haven't put them out because we felt like it's only right to, have Bishop on first. Well, I'm sure Kurt's asked him at some point and he's fine with it, but I finally got the nerve to ask him Thursday, and he said he'd be honored to. So it was easier than I thought. So, he's the best. Bishop's bomb, but it will be coming back soon. We also was, as you know, like editing and shooting and all that. I just got too busy at work. I was doing what you're doing right now and recording our episodes like Tuesday night after church and then coming home and editing the video, editing the audio. So it'd be up on Wednesday and I wasn't sleeping and, all of those things. And so what we've got now is like have more equipment. We have more help at the church. Our studio's been redone. So it's going to be just less work all around for us. So it makes sense. And you don't want to commit to just putting out stuff to put out stuff. And, you want to put out stuff that's somewhat quality. I could never keep a camera battery good for an hour. I don't know why, but if I tried to set up 3 cameras, every one of them would die. And, it was just, I didn't want to put out stuff that wasn't good. But Pastor had actually mentioned it to Kurt a few months ago, like, hey, y'all need to get back on this. So we definitely have some inspiration and motivation to get it back going again.
Nice. Well, we're excited for it. I mean, I really enjoyed the podcast. If you haven't heard it, if you're watching or listening, the link will be in the description. I'm sure it's a very popular podcast. It's awesome. So we're excited for.
I know. Just from us, from our church, we've sent that so many parts from you guys' podcast to our young people or to each other.
Yeah,
there's super helpful stuff.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's. Another good thing is like, like good cop, bad cop. You don't want to tell the young guys in your church, hey, don't play too much or don't do this or do that. But it's like, hey, listen to this.
Yeah, these are guys that are actually doing it. You think these guys are cool, and this is what they're actually doing, right?
It's like, let us be the bad cop and tell them what they should do different.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there too. So like I've sent the Sharon McKee episode to like the worship leaders and stuff. And then one of the ones that was really interesting was when you guys were talking about your media with, I think it was with Austin.
Yeah.
And, watching your guys' live streams, you'd think you guys were doing this for years, and listening to the episode, you really didn't start it till a couple years ago. Was it during COVID? And it's super high quality. You would think you'd be doing it for years.
Yeah. That's what, Austin is unbelievably talented. I walked in the room at peak, whenever he was doing the live stream just a couple weeks ago. And I told him, I said, dude, I was thinking about it this morning. It's so funny that 3 years ago, we were scrambling trying to set up a live stream whenever COVID hit, and you knew nothing. You literally had a computer and one camera and was trying to figure out how to stream this thing. And now, like, look what you're doing. Like, it's so high quality. It's like like you said, it's like he's been doing it forever. But
if I could send a request, I know you did an episode with Austin a while back, and I watched that episode. But if you guys did an episode at some point, just breaking down your live stream setup. I mean, the cameras used and the full like setup, because I've been looking into myself for stuff for here, and I know nothing about cameras. When I started this podcast, I'm setting all this stuff up, making a lot of mistakes. But like Jake said, it seems like you guys been doing it for years.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to bring a camera back there and let somebody else explain it, because everything is over my head for sure. But they know what they're doing. Especially now we got Jordan Smith. It's extremely creative, and him and Austin together are just like it's not fair.
Yeah.
They're so good.
So you have subscribers only on Instagram. What do you offer on that? If anyone's interested.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not really sure what to do on there, but a lot of the times I'll go live during rehearsals, or I was live this morning trying to learn these 13 songs. I'll share every once in a while, a lesson, here's how to play these chords, here's how to do this. Really, I'll share anything that I'm like, I wish I'd have known this, earlier on. I'll put that up. I'm still trying to figure out. I don't really know what's expected there, but trying to get better. I want it to be because I don't want to sound like arrogant or whatever, but I just don't have time to do lessons really and do them as good as I'd like to do. So I want it to kind of be a way where it's if you're a subscriber, it's not reasonable for me to help every single person with everything. I can't. But being a subscriber, I feel like I owe you something. So it's if you've got the little badge next to your name and you DM me and you're like, hey, how do I do this? Or how do I use this pedal? Or how do I do this? Whatever. I feel like I need to spend time to really help you figure out whatever that is. And so to me, that's what it is. It's you're a student basically, or you're, that's the way that I look at it is how can I help you if you have that. If you're willing to give, that's $5 a month. If you're willing to give $5 a month, I'll take time and help you out.
That's awesome.
I'm not a guitar player, but I was trying to be a good friend and support you. And I subscribed, and I loved seeing the community that was on there. They would all ask questions, and you would answer them, or somebody else would help them. And I feel like that in itself who has access to somebody like you, like that, literally a DM away, and you're gonna read it and respond back to them.
It was cool. And we have a group chat, and so one kid was like, hey, how do I do this on the HX Stomp, or how do I do this or whatever? And another kid hops on there and was like, hey, if he can't get this to you, I'll help you get this figured out, or I have this, I'll send it to you, or something. That, like Trent said, that's super cool. But it's just it's a bunch of people that obsess about guitars and music.
That's awesome. I know you provide lessons as well. I know not lessons from your one-on-one, maybe to some, but you've recorded lessons. I took your first one with the Shout. I think it was the Shout Guitar Masterclass. Awesome. I still watch it occasionally to pick up some things from it. And then you have the Fundamentals of Gospel Guitar. Are those still available to purchase if anyone's interested?
Yeah, they are. And what it is I just have them recorded in Dropbox. And so, people will, Cash App or PayPal or whatever, and I'll send them the link. The Shout Guitar Masterclass is 45 minutes, I think, and it's all exactly what it sounds like. Shout Guitar. That was a live audience, so there was questions being asked, and which is a good way to learn, because other people are asking questions you probably would have asked. And then the other one is just something I recorded at home, 45 minutes, Fundamentals of Gospel Guitar. Talking about a lot of quartet shapes and scales that I play and how to get the sound and stuff like that. But those are the two I have for now. I have plans to do one on my approach to lead guitar, and soloing. So that'll probably be the next one.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that. I have a lot of questions, and that's what I would like, just to see some breakdowns of some of your lead lines, like what you're hearing. There's one that I really am curious about, and now that I have you on here, I would just love to ask.
Send it to me.
It was a reel that you posted. You said all the lines in 15 seconds. Phenomenal phrasing there. I would love a breakdown of that at some point. So I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, I need to do it. The funny thing about a lot of that is I could never do it again. So it's I don't want to go try to teach it. I don't know. You know how it is. When you just get in the service and something just happens, and
you call that anointing, brother.
The anointing.
You can't do it again.
It's okay, here's how you do that. Go pray for 4 hours. No,
Yeah. No, awesome. Okay. So in closing, I want to ask some rapid fire questions. These I didn't send to you. I'm just going to throw them at you. And then the first thing that comes to mind. How many guitars do you have?
13-ish.
What's your favorite guitar?
Favorite guitar right now is the Fiore, for sure.
Your favorite brand, I'm guessing your endorsement?
R. Smith, yeah. Definitely.
R. Smith. What's your favorite guitar scale? Or favorite scale?
That is a good... favorite guitar scale is probably just like a major 7 arpeggio.
I heard you say something. I watched one of the Convo episodes, I think just on you, back when you guys first started. And you mentioned that, the 7th arpeggios, and I was like, I've never thought about that.
All right, take a just real quick, take a E major 7 scale. It works over the 1, it works over the 4. If you're in D flat minor, it works over that. If you're in B, it works as over that. So it's like just that one thing alone has so many sounds out of it.
Oh, very good to know. Favorite practice routine?
Oh, favorite practice. I do not have a practice routine. I do not practice unless I want to practice. And I turn on songs I want to play to and play along.
Very nice. It's a good way of learning.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't ever want it to feel forced. I never want to make myself, have to do this.
Right.
I want to keep it fun.
What picks do you use?
Jim Dunlop 1mm picks with the little grip. They're black. They're the best.
Favorite guitar pedal?
Favorite guitar pedal? Man, that is the dude, J Rocket Audio.
The dude. I just picked up the Melody. I know
I've got it right. Yeah, right here on my board.
Yeah, I saw you post that when you posted your board for Peak. I was like, oh, there's the Melody. What do you use that
it's
for?
Sweet.
On your setup?
Right now, I've got it set like the gain at like 2, and I've got it mainly just as an EQ. But I'll use it for all sorts of things. Really, I like to stack it with the dude. It's incredible. It's
awesome.
Killer. Do a little mid boost. Use it. Stomp on it for solos, and the mid will push it through. It's good.
If you didn't play guitar, what instrument would you use, or would you play?
I wish I could play organ.
Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. So anything else from you guys?
No, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of good info.
Trent's got to go hop on a jet. Trent and Jake are headed out flying to Hawaii.
This guy, my father-in-law, his dad flies. And so every time he sees us on planes, he always sends us the John Chris bit. Can't hide money. So
that guy's on the plane every week.
It's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough.
It's tough stuff.
It's a rough life. No, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Colton, for taking the time. I know we had some internet issues, but that's technology for you. That's the end. Hold on. He's going to jump back on. I'm just going to leave that thing on.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean just to bounce out like that.
No, it's all, it's funny because I was just thanking you and then I said, I know we have technology, it has some issues and crashed. So that's,
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Colton, for taking out the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that was fun. Thanks for having me. Sorry for my cheap internet, but we're just trying to hang together down here in Arkansas.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right, man. See y'all. Thanks.